now it's Ben Shapiro, editor-at-large at Breitbart.com and the author of Bullies. Do you believe that if you had an assault weapon ban, statistics prove that you could dry up the supply of these guns and make them less accessible to criminals?
I don't know whether you could make them less accessible to criminals. Let's assume that's the case, that you could make them less accessible to criminals. Again, my question remains for you, Piers, and I'm still waiting for an answer from the left on this. They say they're pro-Second Amendment. Why don't you want to ban handguns? If you really want to solve the quote-unquote gun violence problem in America, go after all the guns. Why just stop yourself at assault rifles?
Because I believe and respect an American's right under the Second Amendment of the Constitution that you kindly brought in to defend themselves with a handgun or a pistol. What I don't understand...
But most of the murders are committed with those weapons.
What I don't... Well, as we just established, as I talked you through them, the last 4 mass shootings in America...
Adam Lanza had 2 pistols on him. Well, he didn't just have an assault rifle. If he hadn't had the assault rifle...
He didn't use them, as you know.
And if he hadn't had the assault rifle, he wouldn't have used them?
Explain to me this. I can't buy this. This is 6 packets of Sudafed. They're one of the many companies that make this particular ingredient, which you can't buy legally in America. There we are, 6 packets. That is illegal for me to buy in that quantity in Walmart, say. But I can buy an AR-15 military-style assault rifle. I can then, as we saw with Holmes, the shooter in Aurora, go and get 6,000 rounds of ammunition from the internet, and I can go and blow up a movie theater. Do you think that's right?
Well, we can talk drug laws another time, but I think that the question is...
Does that make sense to you?
No, I think what would make sense is laws that are calibrated to solve the problem. So if you think that the problem is only assault rifles...
Which guns would you remove?
I think the ones that have largely been removed from the market, fully automatic weapons, would be a good start. I think that...
You wouldn't remove any semi-automatics at all?
No, because semi-automatic just means that when you pull the trigger once, 1 bullet comes out.
Do you understand how
AR-15s are essentially...
Do you understand how an AR-15 performs when it's been modified and has a magazine with...
I do. I saw it in the North Hollywood shootout. And you know what? It was illegal to do that, and people did it anyway. We have 12 million illegal immigrants in this country. We're not able to stop people from coming illegally into this country over the southern border into places like California, where I live normally. I think you'd be very hard-pressed to stop guns from coming across that border illegally as well. I mean, California has some of the strictest gun laws in the nation.
Would you want every American to have an AR-15?
No, not every American.
Who would you stop?
I would stop anyone with a criminal background. I would stop anybody with a history of mental illness. And I would stop, and I would ask, and not ask, I would require that people who have somebody who has a criminal background or a history of mental illness in the household keep that gun locked up and safe.
What about the background checks? 40% of all gun sales in America now, gun trades, are not covered by background checks.
I believe in background checks.
For everybody? For everybody. So there should be a database, a national register?
If it's not public. I don't like what happened with the Journal News, putting out gun permits, which allows criminals to target particular homes.
When the NRA came out today after their meeting with the White House and just said we're just not prepared to entertain effectively any kind of new gun restrictions, what do you think of that?
What's astonishing to me is the left's attack on the NRA, because the NRA is, they don't receive a dime of public dollars. They're an interest group. I don't see, it's funny, the left, they like to talk also about violent video games, for example.
Can you stop framing it as left or right? Because I don't have a horse in the race. I'm going to vote either way.
Oh, come on, Piers. You tend to be more to the left. Right. I mean, I'll understand.
The NRA, as you know, are a very active and well-funded and powerful body. And what they do...
Why are you asking... I just want to finish the point, and then... Sorry, this is very quick, I promise. The point that I'm making is this. There's been a lot of talk by a lot of people about video game violence. I haven't seen David Gregory interviewing the head of the ACLU and saying it's your broad interpretation of the First Amendment that's responsible for this. But people are bringing on the NRA and saying it's your broad interpretation of the Second Amendment that's responsible for this. They're an interest group. If you want legislation passed, talk to legislators. Don't go to the NRA, which is representing its membership.
Here's what the NRA and people like Alex Jones and others do.
Don't let me in with Alex Jones.
Fine. After each of these massacres, they come out, all the gun rights supporters come out very strongly and very vociferously, and they're very powerful. And they basically instill fear. They say if everyone in the movie theater, if everyone in the movie theater had been armed, if everyone at the school had been armed, it wouldn't have happened. And here's what happens. Gun sales and ammunition sales rocket, as we've seen in the last 3 weeks.
Oh, don't pass the buck, Piers. I mean, the truth is that the reason the reason that people are buying a lot of guns right now, Piers, is because people on the left are talking very much about banning guns. And so a lot of people are saying, if I'm not going to have the right to purchase a weapon of my choosing in 2 months, I'm going to go and buy it now. This is very clearly what's going on.
Why did Ronald Reagan want these assault weapons removed?
I don't know why Ronald Reagan wanted these assault weapons removed.
You like Reagan, right?
I like Reagan in a lot of ways. He's not a god. I don't agree with him on everything.
Did you agree with him?
He also believed in the progressive tax rate. I don't believe in that.
Did you agree with him about assault weapons?
If I'll believe what you're saying, sure. I don't believe. I don't.
Did you know
I
his position on assault weapons?
I don't know what his position on assault weapons was. Why don't you tell me?
Well, let me read the letter in full.
Sure.
This was a letter that he penned along with Presidents Ford and Carter in 1994 to Congress. While we recognise that assault weapon legislation will not stop all assault weapon crime, statistics prove that we can dry up the supply of these guns, making them less accessible to criminals. We urge you to listen to the American public and to the law enforcement community in support of ban on the further manufacture of these weapons. That was Ronald Reagan.
Okay, so I can disagree with Ronald Reagan.
You keep framing this as a left-right debate.
No,
I'm putting it to you.
How is this a left-right?
One of the great right-wing presidents of modern times agreed with me.
So
it's not left or right, is it?
No, I mean
unless you deliberately frame it that way.
Okay, Piers.
In the way that the NRA through the 80s and 90s and this last
Piers,
decade
avoiding the breakdown of left and right
deliberately tried to frame this as a left-wing attack on the American Constitution and the Second Amendment. Exactly what you've tried to do. You come in, you brandish your little book as if I don't know
my little book. That's the Constitution of the United States. Our founding document.
I know what's in your Constitution.
Do you really?
I've been debating this for a very long time.
Then you should read the Second Amendment again.
I know the Second Amendment. What I haven't heard is one coherent reason why any civilian in America needs an AR-15 military-style assault weapon. Tell me why you need one.
I told you why the general population of America, law-abiding citizens,
why do they need those weapons?
They need them for the prospective possibility of resistance to tyranny, which is not a concern today. It may not be a concern tomorrow.
Where are you expecting the tyranny to come from?
It could come from the United States because governments have gone tyrannical before.
Do you understand how absurd you sound?
Here's where you go into the absurd and the bullying. You're absurd. You're stupid. I understand that.
I'm not the one that came in here and accused you of standing on the graves of dead children.
Because you're the one who's doing that.
Bullying.
Punching back twice as hard.
Bullying.
You know what I call it? Punching back twice as hard in the words of President Obama.
That's what I call bullying.
And this is astonishing.
What's astonishing
What's astonishing about it is that for weeks now, you have been saying that anybody who disagrees with your position is absurd, idiotic, and doesn't care about the dead kids in Sandy Hook. And then when I say that that's a bully tactic, you turn around and say, I'm bullying you for saying that. It's absurd. It's ridiculous.
Let me ask you again. What is the point of a civilian having an AR-15 assault weapon?
The point of a civilian having an AR-15 assault weapon, many of them are ex-military, right? I mean, I have military friends, and I don't have a problem with Colin Powell owning an AR-15 assault weapon.
And what is the point of a civilian owning them?
It depends on the civilian. If it's a criminal, they shouldn't own them.
No, forget criminals and mentally ill people.
No, but you can't separate that out.
An average civilian who hasn't got a criminal record or is mentally ill, why do they need one?
To protect against the possibility of eventual government tyranny. This was the purpose of the Second Amendment originally. It remains the purpose of the Second Amendment now. And pretending that governments have never gone usurpacious before from a democratic position.
Do you genuinely believe your own government is going to turn on you in a way that you require
an
AR-15 to challenge them? This is what you really believe is going to happen.
It may not turn on me. It may not turn on my children.
Is that what you think?
It may not turn on me. It may not turn on my children. But the fact is this. History is replete with democracies going tyrannical. It has happened. It happened in France in the 19th century. It happened in Spain in the last century. It happened in Germany. It happened in Italy. It has happened repeatedly throughout history. It happened in Japan.
The reason we cannot remove AR-15 assault weapons is because the threat of your own government turning on you in a tyrannical way.
It is because
that is your position.
It is because there are countervailing rights and responsibilities. And I don't understand why we can't come to an agreement about reasonable law. You just want to demagogue the issue.
You have made your point crystal clear. People aren't stupid. They can make up their own minds. Ben Shapiro, thank you. Coming up, my exclusive with an amazing young man who survived a deadly school shooting and now wants to help the people of Newtown.